obscure, secret, known to only a few. The professor is an expert in arcane Kashbuian literature. Avarice, excessive greed. The banker's avarice led him to amass an enormous personal fortune. Brazen, excessively bold, brash, clear, and obvious. Critics condemned the writer's brazen attempt to plagiarize Frankout Cerwanko's work. Brusque, short, abrupt, dismissive. Simon's brusque manner sometimes offended his colleagues. Cajole, to urge, coax. Magda's friends cajoled her into drinking too much. Callous, harsh, cold, unfeeling. The murderer's callous lack of remorse shocked the jury. Candor, honesty, frankness. We were surprised by the candor of the politician's speech because she is usually rather evasive. Chide, to voice disapproval. Hanya chided Gregory for his vulgar habits and sloppy appearance. Circumspect, cautious. Though I promised Marta's father I would bring her home promptly by midnight, it would have been more circumspect not to have specified a time. Clandestine, secret. Announcing to her boyfriend that she was going to the library, Maria actually went to meet George for a clandestine liaison. Coerce, to make somebody do something by force or threat. The court decided that David Beckham did not have to honor the contract because he had been coerced into signing it. Coherent, logically consistent, intelligible. William could not figure out what Harold had seen because he was too distraught to deliver a coherent statement. Complacency, self-satisfied, ignorance of danger. Simon tried to shock his friends out of their complacency by painting a frightening picture of what might happen to them. Confidant, a person entrusted with secrets. Shortly after we met, he became my chief confidant. Connive, to plot, scheme. She connived to get me to give up my plans to start up a new business. Cumulative, increasing, building upon itself. The cumulative effect of hours spent using the World English website was a vast improvement in his vocabulary and general level of English. Debase, to lower the quality or esteem of something. The large raise that he gave himself debased his motives for ruining the charity. Decry, to criticize openly. Andrzej Leper, the leader of the Polish Self-Defense Party, decried the appalling state of Polish roads. Differential, showing respect for another's authority. Donata is always excessively deferential to any kind of authority figure. Demure, quiet, modest, reserved. Though everyone else at the party was dancing and going crazy, she remained demure. Deride, to laugh at mockingly, scorn. The native speaker often derided the other teacher's accent. Despot, one who has total power and rules brutally. The despot issued a death sentence for anyone who disobeyed his laws. Diligent, showing care in doing one's work. The diligent researcher made sure to double-check her measurements. Elated, overjoyed, thrilled. When he found out he had won the lottery, the postman was elated. Eloquent, expressive, articulate, moving. The best man gave such an eloquent speech that most guests were crying. Embezzle, to steal money by falsifying records. The accountant was fired for embezzling 10,000 euros of the company's funds. Empathy, sensitivity to another's feelings as if they were one's own. I feel such empathy for my dog. When she's upset, so am I. Enmity, ill will, hatred, hostility. John and Scott have clearly not forgiven each other because the enmity between them is obvious to anyone in their presence. Erudite, learned. My English teacher was such an erudite scholar that he has translated some of the most difficult and abstruse Old English poetry. Extol, to praise, revere. Camilla extolled the virtues of a vegetarian diet to her meat-loving boyfriend. Fabricate, to make up, invent. When I arrived an hour late to class, I fabricated some excuse about my car breaking down on the way to work. Feral, wild, savage. That beast looked so feral that I would fear being alone with it. Flabbergasted, astounded. Whenever I read an Agatha Christie mystery novel, I am always flabbergasted when I learn the identity of the murderer. Forsake, to give up, renounce. I won't forsake my conservative principles. Fractious, troublesome or irritable. Although the child insisted he wasn't tired, his fractious behavior, especially his decision to crush his jam sandwiches all over the floor, convinced everyone present that it was time to put him to bed. Furtive, secretive, sly. Claudia's placement of her drugs in her sock drawer was not as furtive as she thought, as the sock drawer is the first place most parents look. Gluttony, overindulgence in food or drink. Helen's fried chicken tastes so divine, I don't know how anyone can call gluttony a sin. Gratuitous, uncalled for, unwanted. Every evening the guy at the fish and chip shop gives me a gratuitous helping of vinegar. Haughty, disdainfully proud. The superstar's haughty dismissal of her co-stars will backfire on her someday. Hypocrisy, pretending to believe what one does not. Once the politician began passing legislation that contradicted his campaign promises, his hypocrisy became apparent. Impeccable, exemplary, flawless. If your grades were as impeccable as your brother's, then you too would receive a car for a graduation present. Impertinent, rude, insolent. Most of your comments are so impertinent that I don't wish to dignify them with an answer. Implacable, incapable of being appeased or mitigated. Watch out, once you shun grandmother's cooking, she is totally implacable. Impudent, casually rude, insolent, impertinent. The impudent young woman looked her teacher up and down and told him he was hot. Incisive, clear, sharp, direct. The discussion wasn't going anywhere until her incisive comment allowed everyone to see what the true issues were. Indolent, lazy. Why should my indolent children, who can't even pick themselves up off the sofa to pour their own juice, be rewarded with a trip to Burger King? Inept, not suitable or capable, unqualified. She proved how inept she was when she forgot 2 orders and spilled a pint of cider in a customer's lap. Infamy, notoriety, extreme ill repute. The infamy of his crime will not lessen as time passes. Inhibit, to prevent, restrain, stop. When I told you I needed the car last night, I certainly never meant to inhibit you from going out. Innate, inborn, native, inherent. His incredible athletic talent is innate. He never trains, lifts weights, or practices. Insatiable, incapable of being satisfied. My insatiable appetite for blondes was a real problem on my recent holiday in Japan. Insular, separated and narrow-minded, tight-knit, closed off. Because of the sensitive nature of their jobs, those who work for MI5 must remain insular and generally only spend time with each other. Intrepid, brave in the face of danger. After scaling a live volcano prior to its eruption, the explorer was praised for his intrepid attitude. Invertebrate, stubbornly established by habit. I'm the first to admit that I'm an invertebrate cider drinker. I drink 4 pints a day. Jubilant, extremely joyful, happy. The crowd was jubilant when the firefighter carried the woman from the flaming building. Knell, the solemn sound of a bell, often indicating a death. Echoing throughout our village, the funeral knell made the gray day even more grim. Lithe, graceful, flexible, supple. Although the dancers were all outstanding, Joanna's control of her lithe body was particularly impressive. Lurid, ghastly, sensational. Barry's story, in which he described a character torturing his neighbor's tortoise, was judged too lurid to be published on the English Library's website. Maverick, an independent, nonconformist person. John is a real maverick and always does things in his own way. Maxim, a common saying expressing a principle of conduct. Miss Stone's etiquette maxims are both entertaining and instructional. Meticulous, extremely careful with the details. The ornate needlework in the bride's gown was a product of meticulous handiwork. Modicum, a small amount of something. Refusing to display even a modicum of sensitivity, Magda announced her boss's affair to the entire office. Morose, gloomy or sullen. David's morose nature made him very unpleasant to talk to. Myriad, consisting of a very great number. It was very difficult to decide what to do on Saturday night because the city presented us with myriad possibilities for fun. Nadir, the lowest point of something. My day was boring, but the nadir came when my new car was stolen. Nominal,